All right. Let's calm down. I know it's big bad boss season, right? We got Arjuna Alter strutting into the game, destroying everything. The game has never been the same after he releases, but there are other servants on his banner, and the other 5-star that's going on raid up is Karna. And do keep in mind that Karna's also getting his Spiritron dress, the super form if you will. So if you already have Karna or you choose to summon for him and you're able to pull him, you'll get the new super dope like Karna, Rama, Ashwatthama fusion super form, right? Although here's the problem, I would recommend you summoning for Arjuna Alter specifically, right? Because he's a very rare servant and he doesn't really come around a lot. He's very hard to get your hands on and he's very good at the same time. So if you choose to summon when Arjuna Alter and Karna are on double raid up, just know any Karna you pull could have been Arjuna Alter, right? Because you're splitting the rates between the two of them. And I wouldn't advise doing that. I would advise going for Arjuna Alter first, and then if you really do want Karna, because I understand a lot of people like Karna, I really like Karna, especially after his animation update, just making him look like an absolute boss. I can understand people wanting to summon for him, but if that's the way you want to go about it, you should go after their single raid ups. But with that being said, if you enjoy FGO content, I upload these videos every single day, and all I ask for in return is a like on the video and a subscribe to the channel. Also, click that join button if you want to become a channel member because you just really love what I do and want to go that extra mile in supporting the channel. But with that being said, let's talk about the boy Karna. Now, for Karna being like a year 1 servant, I'm not gonna knock his hits too hard because he's kind of got everything he needs to be successful, especially when you start looking at his skills. His hits do kind of mellow out, they average out to being pretty decent. 3 on the 2 quick cards with 12.2% star gen means that he's actually going to be able to drop a few stars to be able to play around with. Giving him 2 buster cards mean he can buster Brave Chain with his NP to do really big damage. And then even though he's only got the 1 arts card, it has 3 hits with 72% NP gen, meaning if you can get an arts crit, you should be fine to refund most of your NP. And spoiler alert, Karna also has other ways of genning his NP. So overall, looking at his hits, he should be fine. You know, he's got a pretty cohesive deck going for him. The only thing is he unfortunately does not have the all-powerful omnipotent 5 hits on the extra attack. He only has 4, which is kind of a big fat stinky L, but he's a year 1 servant and they weren't really just giving those out to everybody, so I'll give him a pass there. And I just really want people to think about Arjuna, right? Arjuna, regular Arjuna by the way, not Arjuna Alter, but think of the regular Archer Arjuna. He's supposed to be a rival to Karna, and let's just go through Karna's skills and let me know if you think these two are rival characters. His first skill is lowering the enemy's debuff resistance by 50% for 1 turn and then sealing their NP for 1 turn on a 6-turn cooldown. So what does this mean? This basically means Karna in harder content can actually somewhat keep himself alive. Now, it's not hard survivability, but it is a way for him to kind of avoid getting blasted by an enemy NP. Although, considering he's a buster servant, you're probably going to be running him with Merlin, so if anything, that is kind of beneficial, because between Merlin's illusions and Karna's ability to seal NPs, you actually should be relatively fine in being able to kind of avoid, dip, dodge, and dive around enemy NPs. I almost just wish that he was an art servant, because art servants are really good at NP control, because, you know, Tamamo has her curse skill, Waver has the drain on his NP, and then usually have someone like Vlad or Galatea who then also controls the enemy NP with like their NP or skills. So it almost seems like he would pair up very well with them, but you know, I'll take it. It's nice that he has some measure of survivability. But fortunately for Karna, he doesn't just have 1 skill. His second skill is similar to Arjuna's skill, where it's the 1-turn damage steroid, but it splits it into 2 different buffs to actually give him more damage. So instead of just giving him a 50% buster buff, they gave him 30% buster performance and 20% NP damage, because that's actually going to make his NP hit harder, because the card type buff and the NP damage buff actually multiply into each other as they are different buff types. The only thing that's unfortunate about that is that because he's getting the 20% NP damage buff, Buster Brave Chains are not going to hit as hard as they could because he's not getting the full 50% mana burst. So you do got to understand you are giving up the overall strength of the Brave Chain to make his NP hit a lot harder. But to be fair, the name of the game with Karna is NP spam, because that's where a lot of his kit and what makes him unique starts to come in. Finally, there's his third skill, which I actually think is very good because it's giving him 25% NP gauge. So they're supplementing the need for him to get arts crits to actually gen his NP with the fact that they gave him a 25% battery. Now, a 25% battery is a bit odd. It has synergy with a max limit broken imaginary element, which a lot of free-to-play players do have that max limit broken. That's actually one of the more common CEs, and if you don't have it, I believe when Imaginary Scrabble comes around, the Captain Nemo event, they actually have that CE go on raid up, so if you ever needed to get that CE max limit broken, that's going to be your chance. The only thing that's a bit odd is that because he doesn't have 30%, he has weird synergy with event damage bonus CEs or event drop CEs that start him off with 50% battery, because he can't just use a 30% skill and then say Merlin's charisma of 20% to get up to 50%. He's only getting 25%, so it's going to leave him lacking that extra 5%, which can be a little annoying if you're trying to do specific team comps to get a 3-turn clear with Karna for whatever reason, which probably, you know, secret here, don't tell anybody, it's probably not going to be something you're doing very often. You're primarily going to be using Karna for harder content. You can use him to farm, and you can try to use him as your 3-turn farmer for events, but you're going to need a lot of other servants to get that job done. We're talking like you're going to need like Waver, Rain, Scotty to just pump and dump 50% battery into him just repeatedly. But those aren't the only effects he actually gets with this skill. He's getting 50% star generation, so that's why I was saying those 3 hits on those 2 crit cards are actually going to be very good in allowing him to drop stars, because he does have a pretty decent star gen buff for himself, and if you're pairing him with Merlin, you can actually make that go Super Saiyan 3 God Beyond Blue, because Merlin is going to give him like 100% crit star gen, so then he's just going to be dropping stars all over the place. And then something they at least gave Karna that they didn't give the boy Arjuna is an innate crit damage skill. So for 3 turns, he's getting 40% crit damage, which is somewhat good. It's a little power crept, because you'll notice a lot of servants now are at least getting 50 and some are getting 100% with some stipulations. So 40% is a little bit under the power creep, but it's still close enough that Karna can do some decent crit damage, especially when you start pairing him with people like Merlin and stuff, right? The only unfortunate thing about Karna is that his skills are all on kind of high cooldown. So the first skill you're really only going to be using for the NP seal, because, you know, that's survivability, and you can use the reduction in debuff resistance in conjunction with his NP, but it only lasts for 1 turn. So if you happen to have, like, say, Waver and Reigns in the back pocket to just give him another 100% NP, or you get really lucky with like an Arch Chain and an Arts Crit and you're able to just refund your entire NP, whatever the situation might be, the fact that it only lasts for 1 turn is actually going to hurt Karna. They're both good effects, but again, on long cooldowns. If it was like a 5 or even, God forbid, a 4-turn cooldown, this would be a godly skill for him. His second skill is his Damage Steroid. It's on a 5-turn cooldown, but the effects only last for 1 turn, which means the downtime for the skill is 4 turns, which is really, really massive. That's really bad. The only skill that kinda evens out is his third skill, because it's on a 6-turn cooldown, but the effects last for 3 turns, so you get 3 turns of uptime and 3 turns of downtime, so it kind of evens out at that point. So he's a bit of a mixed bag at that point, but then we get to his NP, which is an AoE Buster NP that reduces all enemies' Buster resistance by 20% for 3 turns, and that's where that first skill comes in handy, because you can whiff that. If an enemy has, say, magic resistance or goddess core, this might not hit. You know, they might whiff that debuff. And so being able to lower their debuff resistance actually will help guarantee that this sticks on them. The only problem is it doesn't have like the Arjuna alter effect where it activates first, because if it did, Karna's damage would be so crazy. But if the design that they're going for is that you pop the first skill, fire his NP, and then hopefully are able to get that to stick, so the second NP you fire within the next 3 turns hits significantly harder, then I can maybe see that that's what they're going for, because Karna does admittedly already do pretty decent damage especially if you can get his overcharge effect, which is a 150% to 200% damage mod against divine characters. And you know, when Karna came out, maybe there weren't a whole lot of divine characters running around. I mean, even at that point there were still a decent amount, but now, especially with Lost Belt, it seems like every other character that comes out has some level of divinity, right? So it just seems like we have divine characters running all around all over the place, and Karna can be brought to type neutral, or even, God forbid, you bring him to a berserker or an archer that has divinity, they're getting absolutely shredded. But because of that high special damage multiplier, you can actually bring him to some like type neutral events or some type neutral boss fights, and he'll do very, very good damage. So overall, Karna is a very solid servant. If you want to summon for him because you really like Karna, or you really like the Super Karna form that you get in Lost Belt 4, then I'm not going to stop you summoning for him. But if you wanted to ask me, like personally, I would say go for Arjuna Altar first, and then if you have leftover quartz and you really like Karna and you don't care about any of the summer servants that are coming out after this, then you can go ahead and summon for Karna. But again, just understand, we have a whole like murderer's row of servants coming out this year. Like Arjuna Altar is coming out in a few days from this video dropping. Then Summer 3 is getting a rerun. Summer 4 is coming out. Scotty will be coming back a few months after that. People are really hyped for Mao Nobu. Even though Mao Nobu is not the best servant in the world, people are very hyped for her to come out. And if you're one of those people, you gotta remember that these are a lot of the servants that are coming out, and you want to hold your quartz for them. And keep in mind, if you really, really, really love Karna, you can pick him up with the 5-star ticket, okay? I'm a very big proponent of just picking whoever you want with the 5-star ticket. Yes, you should pick someone like Waver because he's going to be the one that's going to bring the most out of your account. But if you're going to be more happy picking like Mordred because she gets a hot outfit, then by all means pick Mordred. Because at the end of the day, you need to be having fun with the game. Otherwise, why even play? But that's been my TED Talk. If you guys enjoyed the video, again, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, join button if you feel like really just going that extra mile and supporting me. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice week. Have yourselves a nice day. Peace late, guys.